What's up, everybody? Welcome to Looking Back at Invincible Season 1. I'm your moderator, Greg Miller from Kinda Funny. And of course, this is part of Skybound Expo, brought to you by... There it is, Nangshin Ramen. Never forget. You want some ramen? That's what you get. Right, Robert? Is that your ramen of choice, Robert Kirkman?
The only ramen I eat, man.
Exactly. See?
It's also the only thing I eat.
Exactly. Nangshin Ramen. They didn't tell me the tagline, so we'll just say, eat ramen. Why aren't you right now? You're at home. You can be eating whatever you want. We have an amazing cast of people here to talk to you about Invincible Season 1, go through how it happened, what it came to be. Let's start by introducing everybody. Of course, number one, he's the man that made it all happen. You know him. You love him. He's Robert Kirkman. Let me look at these stats here. Right? Co-creator of Invincible, The Walking Dead, Firepower Outcast, about every other thing you've ever heard of. Hello, Robert. How are you?
I'm doing great, Greg. How are you?
I can't complain. This is fun. It's good to be on a panel with you. I can't wait to see how you insult me this time. You know what I mean? At least I'm here to defend myself, unlike at IGN where you attacked me. But, you know, I digress. We don't need to dig up these skeletons all the time. People who I have no beef with that are on this panel, ladies and gentlemen. You know, of course, know her as Adam Eve. Welcome, Gillian Jacobs. Of course, also from Community, Love, Fear Street on Netflix right now in her podcast, Periodic Talks. Gillian, how are you?
Hi, thank you for having me.
Oh my God, it's a pleasure to have you. It's so cool to actually be here to talk to you and hang out with you and, of course, get into what you brought to Adam Eve. I've been a fan for a long time, and I got lots to say about this entire cast and what you guys did in season 1, all right? So everybody strap in. Next up on our panel is Walton Goggins. Walton, of course, you are Cecil Stedman of this one. For me, you will always be Baby Billy. Every day we listen to Misbehaving in this house, and I want to thank you for bringing that into my life.
Thank you very, very much. I really appreciate you plugging that for me. Thank you. So I don't have to do it. Thank you. It's great.
No, why? Your plugs are justified. The unicorn, the righteous gemstones, of course. So much to love with Walton. Thank you for joining us today. And then last but certainly not least, ladies and gentlemen, he's a man who needs no introduction, but I'll give it to him anyway. Of course, he is Rexplode in Invincible, but you know him as Jason Mantzoukas. Of course, The League, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, the podcast, How Did This Get Made? Jason, how are you?
Greg, I'm coming into this panel with no beef with you, but I am guaranteeing that when I leave, we will have beef.
Impossible. That won't happen. We will not beef. We will not be a part of that, all right? Because that was my thing when I'm watching Invincible. And as Robert Kirkman will tell you, of course, I'm Greg Miller. I put Invincible on the map. This thing never would have happened without me.
This guy is. I do not vouch for him.
We're watching this thing. It starts up. I'm sitting there on literal pins and needles as I show it to my wife, who has not read the comics, has not been obsessed for the full 18 years like I have. And when you came on as Rexplode the first time, Jason, I couldn't help myself. I turned to her, and she knew I was watching her, and she's like, "What?" And I'm like, "It's the pillow fucker from Big Mouth." And she's like, "Oh my God, it is!" And we were off to the races. And that's when she became a fan of Invincible,
right?
But,
because that is her fetish, is the pillow fucking, and she was like, "I see myself reflected in this."
It's like, you know, when you see someone you know succeed.
Insult his wife and start a beef, Jason.
I'm trying to start a beef.
So you can start a beef with my wife, all right? That's where you can go, Jason.
That's right, Lady Greg Miller. I'm beefing with you.
Sure. Her name's Genevieve. Go ahead and cut a wrestling promo. We can wait.
Listen up, Mean Gene, Genevieve.
Let me tell you something, brother. This is the kind of panel it's going to be at Skybound. And, of course, you can only get that at Skybound Expo. Of course, brought to you by Nangshin Ramen. Get out there and get some right now if you need food.
Beef bone broth.
Robert Kirkman, I want to start with you. It's probably a silly question that I'm sure you're sick of answering, but try, okay? 18 years later, did you ever think Invincible would get to this point? Because as a fan, right, reading that comic, loving that comic, seeing that comic end, and of course the success you were having with The Walking Dead during that same time period, I was like, awesome. I really wish Invincible would have had something like this. And so to see the movie get announced, to then see this animated series get announced, to see the animated series come out, and then see it blow up, where friends who had never listened to me when I recommended this comic book are suddenly all about it. I couldn't believe the resurgence, but I guess really this blockbuster nature of it. Like, is it a stupid question for me to ask you if you ever saw this as a possibility?
I mean, I definitely never saw it as a possibility. Let's go ahead and get that out. Like Walking Dead, I seems like a fluke to me, you know, like comic book turns into a big successful thing. I don't know how that happened. I have people that are like, hey, you do TV. How do I become a TV writer? And I'm like, I don't know. You make a comic book that's successful and then it gets turned into a TV show. Like, I have no idea how this happened, but it's really great because I've had to deal with years of Corey Walker and Ryan Otley, who, you know, co-creators, artists on Invincible, going, hey man, how about some love for us? As if it was me that, like, you know, like just waved a magic wand and did this with Walking Dead. So it's nice to actually have all this excitement around Invincible, so those guys will leave me alone. but it's very exciting. I mean, Invincible is something that is like super like important to me. And when you look at the 144 issue run, like I grew as a human being. Like I started at like 23 when I started it, and I was like 103 when the book ended. And I went from like, you know, I had just gotten married, had no kids. By the end of it, I had 2 kids that are like super old and super mean to me. And so it's been a huge change over the course of that series. And I feel like a lot of the transformation and things that happens to Mark over the run of that book, you know, are definitely reflective of my life in ways I will never reveal. But it's
how many people have you killed? Like, I feel like that would be the thing that Mark's reflecting on you. Yes,
I can't go there right now with you.
My apologies.
We'll talk about it later. But listen, it's really great to have this massive audience like coming in and being able to, you know, experience these characters through these amazing actors that are, you know, making them their own and reintroducing me to these characters in an exciting way. And it's just a really great time to be an Invincible fan. And I couldn't be more happy than, you know, with how things have come. I'm very excited.
So I like starting there. Obviously, this guy's been on the 18-year journey, but I want to flip it now and go to you, the actors. Gillian, when you're presented with this project, well, I guess first off, are you presented? Do you audition? Do you know anything about Invincible when this starts for you?
I auditioned for this project, and it was from a casting director, Linda, that I love and I've auditioned for many times in the past. And she seemed very excited about the idea of me playing this character. So she's like, I want you to get this one. So I was like,
okay,
all right,
no pressure, great.
No pressure. But Linda was really supportive of me. And I think I was in Toronto shooting a movie and just recorded the audition on my phone and emailed them in, hoping I would get it because it seemed incredible, but with no expectations. So when I actually got the job, I was so excited. And this is such, I mean, in addition to the, you know, amazing comic that you're talking about, the cast of this show is also amazing. And so I was just thrilled that they wanted me to be any part of it.
Walton, same questions for you. What were you familiar with this project? Did you know anything about it?
You know, I did not know anything about it. I don't know. I missed that whole kind of comic thing, you know.
Oh, sure.
In my childhood, I didn't have really anybody turn me on to it, and then this came along and written by Robert and I read the first episode and I couldn't wait to read the second episode and. That's all that they would give me, and I said yes just so that I could read the third episode, the fourth episode. I was just so blown. Let me just say, hold on, this is Jeff. Thank you so much, mate, for getting me safe, man. I appreciate it.
Oh my God, the big time Walton Goggins over there, right? Look at this.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say goodbye to my driver in the middle of a panel.
Big time.
Also, a documentary, A Day in the Life of Walton Goggins.
He's gonna have plants that come up looking for autographs, right? Like, oh man.
Yeah. Some people have like Mercedes. I have a 15 pass van. All right, let's just start.
Easy on. What's the address? You gotta find him, guys.
Super cool hotel. No, and then I read it and then had a conversation with these guys and was just I'd never read anything like this before ever. You know, I'd never read even a Marvel movie like this. I'd never but I didn't fully anticipate what you guys were going to do, Robert, visually. I had an idea of it, you know. But then once we kind of got into the story and we're all you know kind of in this room and individually and knowing everyone that they kind of cast, it just took on a life of its own, you know, and I couldn't believe that I got the invitation to kind of come play at this level, you know, for a story like this, and I think in some ways, I don't know, it's like it's nice to have somebody. Maybe there are other people, but I don't know. I don't know. For me, it was nice. And I think maybe for you, Robert, and for other people, like to have fresh eyes on it, right? I mean, for me, it stands on its story. There is no, it doesn't come into my life. The reputation kind of doesn't walk into the room first. I'm just reading it and letting it stand on its own merits. And it did, from the beginning to the very end. And it was a real honor and a real pleasure to go on this journey.
Jason, how do you come to the project?
I'm kind of the opposite. I read the comics, I'm more like you, Greg. I've been reading the comics and have been a fan since they were coming out, I don't remember at what issue I picked up Invincible, but it was pretty early on in the run, and then proceeded to read the rest of the book as it came out in issues, and then got to know Robert. Unfortunately, we have a friendship that is
The worst.
not satisfying. But so got to know Robert, and then I think through that was able to kind of audition for the Rexplode part, which was for me I'm obsessed with this book. This is one of the books that like I give as a gift to people to be like, this is a story you should read. This is a complete, especially once it was completed. It's so nice to give somebody something that is done already. It's a hard thing to give somebody something that's like midway through and be like, just wait, now more's coming. It's great to give Invincible to people and be like, here's the story, and read it and have people be like, holy shit, And so to get this part and then to be inside of Invincible, which was a story that I knew so well, was very exciting. To be able to be Rex and to play, because I felt like Robert wrote a really good teenage asshole character. And I was like, I can bring that to life, but I can add a little bit more of a douchebag to this guy that I feel like Robert really was withholding. So I feel like I brought my own thing to it in a really great way. No, it was a blast. It was a blast to be in the room recording with Robert and doing all these sessions on these stories that I knew so well, and seeing how they were recalibrating and reordering and doing the story that I knew so well differently in a way that I was like, oh, this could be like a kind of Titanic arrival. And then when that first episode hit, and the Omni-Man reveal happens at the end of that episode instead of at the end of was it issue 8, Robert, in the book?
Yeah, issue 7 actually, but yeah.
Issue 7. Instead of waiting 7, episodes, instead of it coming at the end of season 1, for it to come at the end of episode 1 was fucking awesome. And I had so many people immediately start texting me and emailing me, be like, holy shit, this show is fucking crazy. And it was awesome. Like, people that I was shocked were finding it were like, not only had found it, but were instantly obsessed with it in a way that I was like, oh, please. And I've been sending people the books, just anybody who's like, I'm loving this show. I'm like, here you go.
So now, Robert, back to you on this one, because I think this is an interesting, spectrum, right, of people who know what the Invincible story is. When you bring on this cast and you give them these characters, do you talk to them about like, okay, cool, read the whole book, don't read the book, stay away, do this thing? Clearly, you're going to change little things, but obviously broad strokes for the most part are going to be similar. Like, do you want that in their head? Do you want them to come at it, like for Walton, who knows nothing, to be completely fresh to it?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. A lot of people ask me about this, and it's similar on Invincible and Walking Dead. It's a case-by-case basis based on what the actor wants. There's a lot of actors that say, I want to know every little nook and crevice about every little character, even if it doesn't end up in the show. Like, I want to be able to use that to build this character out. And there are other actors that say, no, I'm crafting a role and I'm building this character, and I don't want to be anticipating things that could distract me or could mess me up. And it's all about like, it's a case by case, like each individual actor knows what they need and what they want, and that's how they build their roles. And I'm just fascinated by all the hard work that goes into this. Having worked on Walking Dead and Invincible and different things, I love it because every single actor, especially the 3 here, work on their characters and care more about their characters and put more effort into their characters than I ever do. Like, I'll be on set, somebody will come up to me like, what were you thinking about this character when this happened? Because I was thinking that his childhood was like this, and then this happened to him, and then this happened, and that built him into this. And I just go, yes, Because I don't want to be like, oh my God, you guys are working way harder than I do. But there's a lot that goes into, like putting yourself in the mindset of another person, and anything that the actor needs to be able to do that. Like, sometimes that's reading a bunch of comics and sometimes it's not. And I think that's great.
Walton, how did you come at it? You're coming in as a blank slate. Did you just let the script speak for themselves, or did you go look at stuff?
He read all the comics and said they sucked.
I would have done this. This is terrible writing.
I like the pictures. I like the pictures more than the words.
I think, I don't know. I think you're probably talking to two actors that are not myself included, but on this panel that are much more suited maybe to this than I am. I was so unbelievably intimidated, kind of by the whole process early on. I mean, this is not really something that I've ever really thought about doing, and then over the course of this kind of pandemic, or really kind of starting with Invincible, this kind of world started to open up. And then when we got in there, I don't know, the very first day, I don't know, Robert, I don't even know, Robert, were you there the very first day?
I was.
I don't think so. Well, you were, right?
Yeah.
Well, and I was really, I couldn't kind of find it, and I couldn't find, my rhythm kind of behind that microphone, and so much about, for me, like telling a story is, I need my body. I need to move, and I didn't, it's like you just have to tell the story kind of with your voice. I don't really know how to do that, and then once we started to kind of get into a rhythm, and I think it took a little while, I don't think I'm lying kind of when I say that, but what these guys did for me, and the way that I work, is they just opened up the whole kind of recording booth for me, in the sense that I said, where's the chair? I need to know, like, what is happening? Where am I standing in this room? What's going on right over here? And where are they in relationship to kind of what I'm saying? I don't know how to just kind of talk and like it go out into a void. I has to live in my imagination. And then I don't know whether these guys liked it or not, but I enjoyed it. I just would kind of walk around, man, and start like fucking improvising, excuse my language, like all of these things, and like yell at them in the booth, and then I would come back around to the microphone, and we would kind of go into like a scene, and so it was a little different since I'm getting used to, like, for me, but ultimately I hope you guys had a good time. I had a blast once I kind of found my way into it, right? It's a very different set of skills, and my hat is off to people that just do this effortlessly, because it was a lot of effort for me initially.
Sure. I think that's a testament to your craft, Mr. Goggins. You were absolutely killing it from minute one, but you wanted it to be bigger and better at all times, and you were putting a lot of effort into it. The scene that comes to my memory very vividly was the opening scene where Cecil is introduced. You come into the death of the Guardians, and you're very boisterous, and you're like looking at the scene, and you're very angry that the Guardians are dead, and you have to deal with this. And Goggins comes into the recording booth, and he goes, okay, dead body here, dead body there, dead body over there. There's dead bodies everywhere. Fuck, everyone's dead. What do I do? God damn it, motherfuckers. God, fuck, God. Okay, great. And he goes to the mic and just absolutely fucking kills it, like doing all of his lines. But I love that you needed to get into that headspace. It was like you had to build the world around you as you went in to do the lines, and it was great. So much better than Mantzoukas, who just like walks up to the mic and talks.
How dare you?
As a Starbucks coffee, it just kills it.
Just like glug, 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 glug.
Yeah.
And then I just scream all my lines and walk out, flipping everybody the double bird.
Gillian, what about you? So you're coming into like
30 minutes before he'll actually do the lines. It was very frustrating.
Can I just throw one thing in there before you?
Go for
it. The thing that I've been not surprised, but I guess what I've just enjoyed about like having this being introduced to this world first and foremost, and being given an invitation to just be around these creators and this creator and the creators that stand shoulder to shoulder with him and his cast, is out in the world. That when people come up to you, it's like they've seen like life on. And when I say Marvel, I love Marvel. I love that whole universe. But the ramifications of the interactions that these people have with each other and this world, it is graphic. I mean, and it should be graphic, right? This is the violence that's being kind of perpetuated. These are the stories that are being kind of told. And when I listen to the enthusiasm in people's voices and the passion for this story and the way in which it's visually told, I just get so excited, man. Like, it's like I don't know. I think we've just entered a world that we've all been kind of a room that we've all been waiting to walk into. And it's cool that we're all there.
Yeah.
Right.
It's great. It's a great world. And it's also, I'll say this as someone who's read all of the story. It's also like, unlike a lot of other stories in this space, like Invincible's all about like the consequences of your actions, like it's really about the compounding nature of making decisions that come back to either haunt you, to be, like all of the decisions that are happening, all of the elements that are in play, like Mark and the Graysons will be dealing with for forever. Like this isn't a series that has a status quo, or that every season retcons itself into a different way to tell these same type of stories. This is a story that is forward moving and consequential. When a teenage Mark makes decisions, like those decisions have consequences years later. We've seen stuff in season 1 that I suspect if this story unfolds the way that the story unfolds in the books, we will see pay out in season 3 or something. You know what I mean? Like what Robert and his collaborators did is so impressive in, how many 15 years, Robert, were you telling this story in the book? Over the course of 15 years, having these characters age and make choices and have to deal with the ramifications of those choices, both familial, personal choices, but also these big world galaxy type choices, genocide choices that are absolutely catastrophic, down all the way to like personal, relationship choices. It's incredible. I'm excited for people to keep watching what's coming because I know, and it's fucking nuts.
For sure, right? And that was the thing of watching season 1 and being right there with you, Jason, of having read all the books, the stuff that, seems like, oh, this is a throwaway, or, oh, they're just putting this scene in there to do whatever. Like, that even if they don't reference it again in that episode or that season, that is coming back, because that's the beauty of what Invincible is. And you nail it. Comics is always chasing that issue number 1, right? Of how do you get a new reader in? How do you bring somebody into this property and get them into the comic book store, which I understand. But the beauty of Invincible was, right, that it was, here is one series, one universe, one world for you to read through, to fall in love with these characters, go on journeys with these characters, lose these characters, see them find love, see them evolve and change. And that's why I think, Walton, to your point, you're getting those reactions from people on the street when you do it. Because again, like as an Invincible fan, I never expected this. I never expected this animated series. I never expected the movie. Like, there's a clip that's infamous now of like me flipping out right when the news broke when we were live that there was going to be an infamous movie. And it's because it's beyond my wildest dreams that it was going to happen, let alone that we would get it and it would be this good. The fact that it is this good is the mind-boggling part of it, right? Like, I was definitely ready for Robert Kirkman to finally half-ass it, and he didn't. You know what I mean? He's got all the money in the world, no reason to keep trying, but he tried on this, and he did it. And now, Gillian, that leads me to my question for you, is that we're talking about this fan base that, again, was starving for the content and thinking it was all over. When did you have to wrestle with, or did somebody talk to you, or how do they explain to you, like, there's an audience that loves this character, Adam Eve. They know everything about her. They know her start in this world. They know her finish. They have her statue back here and her action figures and everything else. Like, do you let that get into your head as an actor coming into this role? Did you have a sit down moment? Did you realize at some point after the fact that this character meant so much to people?
I knew that this was special because of the way friends responded to the news of me doing the show. And it was with like a passion and an excitement that was exciting for me, but also did make me a little bit nervous. But then when I read the scripts, I thought they were so good that I knew it was going to be great. And I knew the cast was amazing. And then now, having seen the whole show together, the animation, I think is incredible as well. So mercifully, I didn't really get in my head too much about that. I just knew that this project meant a lot to people. And thankfully, all of those people have now texted me and called me and said, what you said, it's better than I ever hoped it would be. It's everything I ever hoped it would be. It's so good. And friends who didn't read the comic, who maybe just started watching it because I told them about it, also became avid fans. So that has been really gratifying to hear all of those people say, this is better than we were hoping for.
And then Jason, for you, it cuts the other way, right? You knew everything. You knew you were stepping into this project. Is there that moment of like, I love this property and I hope I don't fuck it up?
There was, there was a little bit, I hope I don't fuck it up, but also a little bit like, I hope this is the version of it that I want. As a fan, I was like, I hope Bobby Kirks isn't going to fuck this up. I hope Hollywood Bobby Kirks.
Hollywood Bobby Kirks.
I swear to God, if people start calling me Bobby Kirks, I am done.
Hollywood Bobby Kirks was like, guess what, bro? I'm making an Invincible animated show. No, so I was like, for me, I really was like, when I saw that A, Robert was so involved, and B, that it was like 1 hour episodes, I was like, this is going to be incredible. That's when I was like, oh, they're doing a version of this. I almost feel like if this, because I feel like, and correct me, Robert, if I'm wrong, there have been versions of this that almost made it to screen or to, in some version, there have been different versions of Invincible that have almost made it to, for us to be able to see. But this version of it is, what's that? A couple dozen times?
There were a couple of, they never really got very far, but there were some attempts.
But this one to me is like, it makes me so excited because I almost feel like at this stage, having the whole story known and being able to have control over it in a way that's like, these are 1 hour episodes. This is a drama. This is a epic story that we're going to tell in all of its facets, and including these deep, visceral, incredibly rendered, violent fight scenes. It's not just, oh, we're here for like some fun punching and some fun laser zapping. Like, these are the Omni-Man Invincible fight where he pushes Invincible's head through the bodies of the people on the subway train is just absolutely like shattering when you watch it, because you're like, I can't believe how perfectly I'm understanding what's happening and how brutal it is, and that what I'm watching is actually just a fight between a father and a son. It is really just like the architecture is a father and a son disagreeing over how to grow up and how to choose your own, make your own individual choices. But in this instance, the father is causing mass death using the son's body as a weapon. And that's incredible, and that's the kind of stuff that Hollywood Bobby Kirks is known for, like that's the stuff he puts in there. He's just sprinkling some of what he calls that Bobby Kirks dust.
Oh, there it is. Whoa, hold on.
Wardrobe change.
Hollywood Bobby Kirks in full effect over here, everybody.
Hollywood Bobby Kirks. So cool, man. So
he was ready for it,
He really was.
Sunglasses stay on. He has no ears.
Oh my God, that's funny. For me, I was really excited that it was really the version of the show that I felt like was closest to how I felt reading the book. Sure. Which I love. And that's what I think people have responded to. Is that it's not quippy and silly. It is the book, and that's the people like you've said, Greg. People who've waited a long time for this, who've been reading this book. And it's, I think, really impressively well done.
And so
after this panel is over, can I have you call my parents so that they'll finally accept me?
Wow.
Just show them this video. Send them a link to this video. Get the views up on this video. Help out Skybound Expo, of course, which is brought to you by Nagshim Ramen. Why aren't you eating ramen right now?
Beef bone broth.
Mr. Kirkman, he's talking here, Jason, about the fact that it is pretty much the comic. I feel like that cuts a number of different ways for you. Number one, was there a concern of being too faithful to the comic, or a concern of being not faithful enough to the comic when you sat down to actually make this series, right? Because is there a concern people are going to know every plot twist and not care about it? Are you going to worry about then if you go too far, you piss off nerds like me?
I ain't scared of nerds like you, Greg.
Fair.
But it's a balancing act. You want to have some sense of newness to the story so that people that even the most diehard Invincible comic fan who's like, just do the comic book exactly, I feel like would be bored if we just did the comic book exactly. So you want to add some things to it. Also, look, I love the Invincible comic as much as, a lot of people love the Invincible comic. It's not perfect. There's definitely some things that could be improved upon here and there and streamlined and things like that. And so, as a creator, it's great to get in there and kind of feel like you're cleaning things up. And I think if you, look at the first season, you can kind of see examples of where I was like, okay, like, this is a 5. I can move this to an 8. Like, this thing doesn't need to be this big. I'll move this down. Working with Simon Ranciopa and the writing team to, kind of streamline things and plus things up. But having done The Walking Dead, like there is lessons, to be learned. Like, we're going to be, hewing very close to the comics when things are very important and things are beloved by the fan base. And, when I feel like there's a deficiency in the story, we'll be cleaning things up and changing things quite a bit. And it's kind of a little bit of both things, which I think will lead to a really cool show.
Is that cleaning things up and, taking it from 8 or 5 to 8? Is that something you accredit to all the, I guess, experience and knowledge you've accrued since being 23 and working on this, right? Because, one of the things I had been talking to you about before, I think on other shows or maybe just texting about, right, was like the fact that this is Invincible, obviously, but you've made changes to it, right? And you've, like Amber Bennett, right, is no longer a blonde girl. She's a person of color, right? Adam Eve has shorts on rather than this, right? Like you've gone through and made these changes. There was this conversation in the original book, right, of William kind of coming out and being gay, whereas this one he's established already as a gay character. Like, were those choices you made because you're in a different place writing the show, or you think the comic is, or like why would those changes be made?
I mean, those changes are all, a byproduct of this comic book being almost 20 years old, Sure. Tastes have changed. Society has changed. There are things about the Invincible comic that are somewhat antiquated. A plot line of a gay teenage guy, coming out is a little, that's hopefully something that's, more and more behind us. Like you
Sure.
want to show that families accept their family members early on, and there isn't this need to, make coming out this big thing. And so it's always just an effort to, try and recognize the progression of ourselves as a society as we move forward through time and acknowledge that. So, it's a great opportunity to kind of, enhance things and also make it a little bit more of the times, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Sure. Now, speaking of the times, Gillian, how do you, of course, being an adult woman now, go back and put yourself in the headspace of a high school superhero?
Oh my goodness. Well, mercifully, they didn't really want me to change my voice too much, which I feel like it was really great that I essentially spoke with my voice, and maybe I just really haven't progressed that much emotionally because it didn't seem to be too much of a challenge.
Understandable.
It was really fun. I mean, I just felt so lucky to be a part of this. And I tried to read ahead, but then I was having so much fun being surprised by the scripts as we would get them that I decided to just read them as they were presented to me. And I really got to experience all the twists and turns that the audience who wasn't familiar with the comic got. And so, yeah, I just think it's a really well-written show. So it was fun and easy to do.
Have you maintained that? Have you still not read ahead? Have you still not had anybody ruin anything for you?
I tried to read ahead, and so much happens that I honestly couldn't keep track of it. And so I decided I'm just going to stay with the continuity of whatever scripts they send me.
Yeah.
Walton, for you with Cecil, I think in the comic, he's so utilitarian, right? Like he is the government, he is this arm, he is the tech branch, he's connecting that kind of thing. How do you come in and decide what that character is, what his backstory is, and how you're going to make him interesting, how you're going to make him this. Because I think it's this fascinating thing of like when Rex speaks for the first time, Jason, cover yours, because I don't want, since you're beefing with my wife, I can't say nice things.
Oh man,
when he speaks for the first time, it was that thing of like, oh, that's Jason, but also, oh, that fits so well for Rex. And the same thing for Gillian and Adam Eve, right? Of like, oh, that makes sense. And then when you opened when Cecil opens his mouth and your voice came out, I was like, oh. It never dawned on me reading the comic that I never had an established voice for him, right? I think I may have skewed him older or something to that effect. Like, how do you come in and decide what he's going to be?
Wow. Well, that's a really great question. I've never been asked any questions about being a part of an animated series, so I'm answering them the way, like truthfully and honestly. Robert, I have a question first before I answer your question. Robert, correct me if I'm wrong. But there was a drawing of Cecil that changed, right? I mean, you had an idea of what Cecil looked like. Am I remembering this correctly or not? At least there were early sketches. Go ahead.
Well, I know that we had Corey Walker's character designs and that we would show the actors because, animated show, a lot of people had no idea who they were playing. And it was funny, too, because everybody was reading scripts and then they would come in for recording sessions. And that would be the first time that a lot of actors would see the characters. And there would be a lot of like, oh, I'm this person. Okay. Seeing who they're playing for the first time, which was a lot of fun. You may have seen like a earlier drawing. That
I did. Okay. So then I am not wrong. So there was an earlier drawing that I was shown and, he was pretty handsome. I got to say, he was kind of handsome. He was kind of a big guy. He was a really kind of a burly, kind of a big barrel chested guy with a smaller waist and legs, nice kind of thin legs or whatever. And so I had this in my mind, and I was really kind of flattered, to be quite honest with you. I felt really good about it, and so I'm reading the script like thinking, okay, well that's the guy. And then the first day of the recording, they said, no, this is what Cecil looks like. And I said, are you fucking kidding me? Like, are you serious? Is this really happening right now? Wait a minute, I'm bald and I have this thing. So that was a kind of a shock, kind of early on. And I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to change my game plan, and the writing, I'm just going to go back to the writing. The writing is so good. And, we've all been around for a while and we've all met a lot of people in our lives. And I don't know, some of the greatest people that I've met in my life, whether, they're in the military or like a version of a police officer or someone with an authoritative kind of position. Hi there, how are you? Sorry,
guest star. We have a guest star appearance.
Somebody get an autograph.
We gotta somebody get that guy to sign a release.
Dude.
We gotta get a release from that guy.
He's just walking to death right now. That's it. But there's this practical kind of reasonable side to them that they're able to see the forest for the trees. And if you ask anybody that has been kind of in those positions, that deal with math in a way as it pertains to casualties and war, in a way that you or I or any person on this panel could never talk about people that way ever, but Cecil can. And there's a sober kind of like not austerity, but like just a soberness to their personalities that
Sure.
that I take great comfort in, to be quite honest with you. They are not hysterical, and they understand the world in a way that probably the world really works, really is. And then later on, as we kind of went along, I mean, the thing that I tried to do whenever I had the opportunity, and the thing that Robert and these guys really supported was, when he understands the humanity of a situation, he understands the difficulty, he tips his hat to that really means something, and his sense of humor kind of comes from like this practical kind of view of the world. But when he's able to kind of step out from behind that facade or that veneer, if you will, then he really becomes human. And that's when he became really human to me, and that's just in the writing, honestly.
Yeah, and I think both your performance and the writing drive that home. I think in the final moments we have with him in this season of him being worried and having that vulnerability, but like what you're talking about, right? Still saying true north. Like I know the job is, I know what I need to do in this moment. You can still hear it in your voice in the performance.
Oh, thank you very much for saying that. Yeah. Thanks.
I'll say for me, Walton was like an incredible choice for Cecil because there is that exactly what he's describing, like that calm, cool matter of factness that Cecil has, but the undercurrent of true, like malicious capability that you understand is there. That underneath that there is a threat. Underneath that there is a capable person who will do whatever it takes.
Did you feel that way Did you feel that way when we met on a beach in Eleuthera? Did you feel that?
Yes, I did. I was like, this guy is dangerous. I like him. I want to hang out with him, but we got to be careful. This guy is dangerous.
I want to ride the lightning with this guy, but 5 feet back. I want to stay a little bit back.
Yeah, so that I felt like that was I loved that casting choice when that was announced because that was exciting to me because that is Cecil. Like Cecil to me has like the charming capability of putting everybody at ease, but then the real backbone to completely decimate whoever is in his way if he needs to, and he's prepared to call those shots and make that move, and that is. I felt like Walton crushed that throughout. And I'm knowing where Cecil goes, I'm excited to see more.
Yeah, he really did. But I mean, it is funny that, originally Cecil was like 9 feet tall, had this giant barrel chest, very strong chin. And then we cast Walton and we were like, we gotta rethink this. We can't.
But you were like, let's keep the skinny legs. You said, let's keep the skinny legs, but redesign it from there up.
Make the body match the leg.
We couldn't animate his teeth because that would be too far over the top. So
we need to give this a Goggins pass.
Robert, we are running out of time on the panel.
Go ahead.
Wait, Robert, and we're running out of time on the panel, and everybody watching is like, this is great. I like the performances, yada yada, but they want teasers for the next season. They're here for the exclusives. What can you give them? What's going on with the rest of Invincible,
including us?
Yeah. Spoilers. Spoilers. Is there a multiverse?
Well, we have talked about Angstrom Levy. Angstrom Levy is going to be a big part of the second season. So, if you're familiar with the comics, that's a cool villain to come in. Really shakes things up. I think if you are aware that Angstrom Levy is going to be a big part of season 2, and you're familiar with the comics, you can kind of get a sense of where we're going with the second season. Especially if you really think hard about how we adapted the story into the first season. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff, and I just want to stress to people that have only watched the first season and have not read the comics, because I feel like there might be a sense of like, well, how are they going to top that? Like where are they going to go from there? Oh my God, you guys have no idea. Like there's so much crazy stuff coming, and it's going to be really awesome. And I can't wait to get to. I'm just not going to say it, but there's a lot of cool stuff coming.
There's so many things that I want to say, and I don't even know if they're going to actually happen. I just want to say there's
give me one, Jason. Give me one. I'll tell you if it's happening in season 2 or not.
Well, I don't know if it's happening in season 2, but I will just say how much of the story. I'm excited for how much of the story I understand to take place in space to happen, and you can cut that out if you want. But space is such an integral part of Invincible's story, and we have barely broached that, and that's exciting to me. And there's other villains that I'm, I mean, like I want Thrag. Give me Thrag.
Just wait.
All right.
Definitely
I'll wait.
Thrag in season 2, I'll tell you that. But there's a lot of space coming in season 2.
How long are we gonna have to wait, huh? Do you want to announce a release date, or do you know when they're gonna get scripts, or when they're recording again, or anything like that, Robert? You suck. This is a waste.
I'm gonna do my best, Rick and Morty. Season 2 is coming sometime in the future, less than 10 years from now. I swear. It might be a while, but we'll see. Who knows? Could be next year. Probably won't be, but we'll see. You never know.
Are you doing the Morty voice? But are you being Dan Harmon or Roiland in this case?
Listen, there's a reason you guys are the voice actors and he's the writer. All right, just lay off him. Get out of here.
Oh wow, Greg! Wow,
That's
wow.
right.
You know,
I want to stick up for him,
I've
all right?
actually this whole time I've been auditioning to be a cameraman in the animated world for season 2. I know this camera work is horrible. This is all cinema verite, but
It's so good.
You know, it's a superpower. Like I've been holding up this phone for 45 minutes right now. 50
I'm
minutes
impressed.
right now. Thank you.
Round of applause
I'm
at home
impressed.
for
I've
Walton.
been holding this
and
laptop
it's-
for 45 minutes
Yeah.
too.
Since Invincible season 2 is still so far away, let's go around and talk about what everybody else is up to before this panel ends. Gillian, where can people keep up with you?
The Fear Street trilogy of movies on Netflix, and I have a podcast called Periodic Talks.
What's that all about?
That is I think it's a great podcast, but I'm
You might be biased. You might be biased.
My co-host Deanna Reesenover and I interview people who work in the STEM world. So everything from astronauts to microbiology to spiders to volcanoes. And then we try and highlight also stories of people who worked in the STEM world in the past. So
I await
check it out.
my invitation.
All right. Great.
I've written about Walking Dead.
I write about science.
That's my impression of you. See,
And
That's
it
what
wasn't squeaky and didn't have a southern accent.
I'm being polite. All right, Walton, what are you working on that people can keep up with?
I just Gillian, you're awesome. You're so amazing. I just think I've been a fan for so long.
Seconded.
I think you're hot shit. Is what I look. I almost my wife and son just walked out this thing. You know what am I doing? I don't know, man. Like I don't know. I had some stuff. You know. I don't know. I mean, I hate this portion of it. I hate selling shit. Like,
Everything Walton does is great. Go to imdb.com. Go there and watch everything he's been in. Of course, The
There you
Righteous
go.
Gemstones, criminally
Cool.
underrated.
You know
Not
what, I
enough
will
if
say-
you watch it. His performance
I
is
love
amazing in
that
it.
show.
Oh,
I love
Gemstones.
Righteous Trend.
Everybody
I'll
watch.
say
Gemstones.
one thing. You know what? I'm gonna plug. I'll plug one thing. I just wrap because I think it's really important, and it's called the Last Days of Ptolemy Gray, and Sam Jackson. It's very important to him. You know, he's been trying to get this done for like 10 years, and Walter Mosley, the great Walter Mosley,
Oh wow.
wrote the novel. You know, and it's about dementia and given an opportunity to have clarity again, and instead of making a movie, they decided to do it over a six parts or whatever, and it was fucking awesome. Wow, it was just a great experience. So that's there you go. There's one. There it is.
Nailed it. You nailed the plug. Good job. And Jason, what about you?
I don't know. I mean, like, I urge everybody, if you haven't already, please watch Invincible. I mean, if you're watching this, I'm assuming you already watched it. Read the comics,
man. You like you got the job, man. What the
God, I gotta keep this. I gotta keep this gig. Big Mouth. The new season of Big Mouth will be coming out soon on Netflix. Another animated show that I'm a voice in. And I do a podcast called How Did This Get Made, where we talk about bad movies and why we love them so much. So if you think you might be interested in that, if you want to hear us talk about things like the Miami Connection or all of the Fast and Furious movies, check out How Did This Get Made.
Who doesn't want to hear more about
Robert
Fast and Furious?
Kirkman has been a guest. Gillian, have you been a guest? I think you.
Yes.
What did we talk about? I forget.
It was a serial killer whose body was cut into parts,
Yes.
and then everyone became killers.
Yes. Oh,
Yes.
Such a good one. Walton, we're going to have you on to talk
I'm
about
in,
something.
man.
It's going to be
I'm
good.
in.
All right.
I'm
And
in.
then finally, Mr. Robert Kirkman, Bobby Kirks, Hollywood Bobby Kirks. What do you want to? Where do you want to direct people here?
That's the takeaway. That's the takeaway.
There
from
it
this
is.
panel.
Hollywood Bobby Kirks coming out of the blocks hot.
When you guys edit,
Walking Dead, I got Walking Dead season I Lost Count coming out in August. There's also this Invincible show. We got some more seasons of that coming out whenever I feel like it. You'll wait.
oh, I feel like when you guys edit this together, when Kirkman puts on the sunglasses, will you edit in like an electric guitar sting so that it's like? Ooh, I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt Robert for a second because I don't know if he's going to, but I want to promote his book Firepower with the incredible artist Chris Somney that is out right now in issues and is so good and so fantastic and one of my favorite current comics on the stand.
Wow.
Thank you, man.
Oh yeah. Oh man, you got a piece of Robert Kirkman there when it was back to Hollywood. Back to Hollywood. You hate to see it.
Yeah, Firepower. Got Oblivion song wrapping up soon. That's another comic that I'm doing. Got all kinds of cool stuff going on. Very exciting. Listen to my podcast, Putting on Sunglasses at Fun Times. Every Thursday, wherever podcasts are sold.
All right, look at the time. We're out of time there. Sorry to cut you off, Bobby. All right. I want to thank you, Robert. I want to thank you, Jason. I want to thank you, Gillian. I want to thank you, Walton. And I want to thank you, of course, the viewers, for hanging out at Skybound Expo to talk all about Invincible Season 1. And, of course, we want to thank the only ramen anybody on this panel eats, Nogshin Ramen, right there.
Beef bone broth.
That's the one right there. Get out there, get yourself some ramen. And until next time, it's been our pleasure to serve you.